Hey, Wholeness, welcome. This is Josh of Innerskilled, and today I'm joined by Graham Hawley. Excuse me. Graham, what's happening today?
What's happening?
Yeah, how are you?
Oh, I'm great. Thank you. I appreciate the invite, Josh.
You're welcome. Yeah, that's kind of a really weird slang, I guess, in the States. What's happening? How are you? My partner is Danish, and she says the Danish people don't understand how are you. They think that, oh, you're not being serious. If you ask that, you're too much of a stranger for me to tell you how. But they don't understand that when Americans say how are you, it could also mean just like hi. So I get
Right,
it.
right.
Yeah, yeah. Anyway, so all that aside, who my standard question is, who's Graham and what kind of work does he do?
Okay, lovely. Well, my name is Graham Hawley. I'm originally from Leeds in the UK, and I am a certified health and wellness coach. What does that mean? Well, I help busy professionals, individuals. I've recently moved into families for the simple reason that children and teenagers are now being diagnosed with all these lifestyle conditions: fatty liver, type 2 diabetes, again, high blood pressure. In fact, I was listening to a couple of doctors about 2, 3 weeks ago, a couple of cardiologists, and they were talking about now they're getting reports of teenagers being admitted to hospital for heart attack and stroke. This is a real serious thing we've got going on, and I think most people don't realize how serious it is because it's become the norm to just live with lifestyle disease. And unfortunately, when you go to your doctor these days, doctor meaning your GP, they just don't, well, they don't rejuvenate your health. They find some medication to put you on, or they send you to a specialist who's going to do the same. Finds just something. So, so many people saying that it's broken. It truly is broken. So, what I do with my clients is identify the unhealthy habits around what I call the 5 pillars of health: nutrition, exercise and movement, sleep quality, stress management, and just being mindful of alcohol. Because these 5 pillars are really is what's causing, I'm going to say, from the minute you come out your mother's womb, you're very susceptible to lifestyle disease these days. And by identifying the unhealthy habits, which most people have had for years, if not decades, and then week by week, slowly swapping one at a time out for healthy based, science backed habits, has led my clients to weight loss, skin issues, gut issues, aches and pains, fatigue going away. And I'm going to say within an 8 to 12 week period, heading back to the doctors to have the medications for high blood pressure and type 2 diabetes, not just reduced, but eliminated. Unfortunately, we've been told the wrong information over the decades. We keep being told the wrong information. And this is why people are struggling to lose weight, struggling to get quality sleep, just struggling in life because of the misinformation, the disinformation, and I'm going to say deceptive packaging around the food companies. But what I have learned, Josh, over the years is that these 5 pillars, they don't operate independently. So when one weakens or is ignored or pushed to one side, well, the others will eventually pay the price. That's just how it works. That's just how it works.
These are great kind of fundamentals that you mentioned there. These 5 pillars. Now, on one hand, I get that some people maybe need to wake up to the realities of how bad it really is. And then I
Yep.
can also see the trap, though, of people staying there and just complaining about it, right, and saying what's wrong instead of moving into kind of empowerment and actually doing what needs to be done. But so of course, balancing these, I guess we need to start. Well, share a little bit about your own personal story of how you got interested into this, and then I want to move into the starting point there of illustrating a little bit more how bad it is compared to where we need to go and what folks should be doing, and
Yeah.
including if you have any kind of not necessarily theories, but like it wasn't always this to this degree, was it? And do you see some
Nope.
key causes? I mean, I can guess of what some of them might be, but I want to hear it from you too. And also
Yeah.
this delicate area we're talking about here too of at least coming from my mouth, this is not professional medical advice, which is another challenge that these authority figures that, from a legal standpoint, we can't, or at least I can't say this is, official medical advice or something like that. And I have no issue or no, I know I don't want to do that anyway, because that you really have to be committed to that.
Yeah, no, well, actually,
So,
you brought a great point up there,
yeah,
Josh. So let's just say I'm going to say the same thing. This is not medical advice. I'm telling you of things that have happened in my life, things that are happening to my clients. So you got to take this for how you want to take it and what you want to do with it. But it's not medical advice. I've just things I've seen with my own eyes. So the first question I think was, how did what got me into all this? Well, it was only 6 years ago, after watching both my brother and my father both become debilitated through other conditions, their type 2 diabetes was causing them. I mean, we're talking about heart attacks, bleeding ulcers, loss of eyesight, pancreatitis, anemia, liver damage, kidney damage, loss of mobility. I mean, it goes on and on. My father finally passed away 2023, riddled with gangrene. So 6 years ago, I wondered if I was setting myself up for type 2 diabetes. As I delved into the research, well, I was shocked. I was disappointed, and of the information I was receiving, which is basically that big food, big pharma, and where we are at the medical industry, because basically big food are making all this fake food, people, which looks good, tastes good, and smells good, but it's cleverly engineered by food scientists, one, to be addictive. And the only way they can make it addictive is by putting a load of unhealthy ingredients into it. They don't care about your health. They just absolutely do. It's all about just making a product that sells. That's why they invented 3 meals a day and snacking. They've created people to just eat too much food, for one. So when I found out all the unhealthy ingredients, including chemicals, hazardous chemicals, which means what are the FDA doing? They're not doing what they should be doing, that's for sure. And then Big Pharma are profiting from this. And I think most everybody will agree, when you go to your doctor these days, your GP, don't matter what you go for, they're not rejuvenating your health. They're finding a pill to put you on and send you away, or they're sending you to a specialist who's going to eventually find a pill or something for you. I hate to say that. It sounds horrible, but that's just how the system's set up. When you take your young kid and your child or the teenager to the doctor and they don't get to the root cause of the problem, there's a problem right there. So
yeah,
this is what has now developed into a passion for me because here's the thing, Josh, in the beginning, I wasn't even planning to be a health and wellness coach. I wanted to make sure I was leading a healthy life, because I say this all the time, if you don't educate yourself in 20, and your children will slowly drift into metabolic dysfunction. There's no argument. Because you cannot eat what looks good, tastes good, and smells good. And that's what people are doing. People we've slowly been moved away from making all your meals and nutrition from real whole foods. Most people don't make the meals from real whole food. Even I get clients to come to me to say, well, I don't understand, Graham. I eat healthy. And then when we delve into it, we'll go, no, you think you're eating healthy. You're putting nothing but chemicals and too much sugar and fillers and binders and preservatives and, don't
it's
work. The human body's not designed for that.
No, and here, unfortunately, here in the States, it can be even more
Yeah.
challenging. It used to be
Yep.
just a few years ago, they had a health food aisle, but then what does that tell you about the rest of the grocery store? If you have one health food
Yeah.
aisle, what's everything else? So they got onto that, and now they don't have a health food aisle anymore. It's all mixed in, and you have
Yeah.
to spend so much time finding anything healthy in huge
Yeah.
supermarkets. But yeah, I couldn't agree more with this. And then if one of the medications is causing a problem, well, then they just have another medication for that. You know what I mean?
Right.
The most of the
Yeah.
doctors,
Yeah.
they only spend a small amount of time being educated in nutrition. Yeah, there's just, and then all the supplement markets, I guess some people just have to take supplements, but because it's hard to
Supplements
find
are not
good.
the answer.
Exactly. Good, clean, high quality whole foods are kind of hard to come by in the States. I mean, you really have
Mm.
to do your due diligence, know where it comes from, what's in it, and then how healthy it actually is. Yeah, it's a really, really important
Yeah,
points
I
here. Yep.
mean, I'll be honest, even when it says organic, I kind of scratch my head, you know.
And see,
But you have to,
that's That's another issue. Sorry to, I've met people now that say, "Oh, nothing's organic. It's all a lie." Well, I'm just like, well, maybe,
yeah,
yeah, but at least there's a little better chance if it at least says that than
yeah,
it
yeah,
actually
yeah,
can be. You can't
exactly.
just
If
write
you're,
off the whole
yeah,
thing, say, throw up your hands. I can't
right,
do anything, so who
right.
cares? I've met these
Right.
people
I think
too.
you've got to understand certain things like, if you can, not isn't possible for everyone. If you can go to a farmer's market and buy your produce, go do that. You're better chance that it is organic. And if you are buying it, do your best to buy organic. And then when you get your fruits and vegetables home, wash them in baking soda or apple cider vinegar, because apparently the acetic acids in there will help pull some of those toxins out of there. But you're right, you're still better off eating something, lean organic meats and chicken, wild caught fish, seafood, fruits and vegetable, beans and legumes, nuts and seeds, herbs and spices. You better off making meals from all that than going to a fast food restaurant and having burger, fries, and a Coke. That's
It's
as
just
simple
common
as that.
sense. Exactly. And with
Well, it
farmers,
is common sense, but people aren't
that's
using common
right.
sense.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And
Right. And
that
I don't mean that derogatory,
derogatory.
but
No, that's
it
right.
is common
Education.
sense.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And the farmers markets are great because you can actually go up to the people and ask, if they're open, how do you farm? What are your practices? Can I visit?
Mm-hmm.
Some people, at least in the Midwest where I'm
Yeah.
from, there's people that are
Yeah,
friendly and
sure.
open to doing that. They want to help
Mm,
educate and
right.
want to learn from you too. And I'm just so grateful. My
Mm-hmm.
folks have been doing organic vegetable gardening since the 70s. So been very fortunate
Yeah,
in that
well,
way.
you're
Yeah.
lucky there, mate. You're lucky, yeah. And
Hmm.
yeah, we've got to, again, because of the misinformation, the disinformation, deceptive packaging by food companies, all the lies we've been told over the decades, don't eat meat, don't eat eggs. That's all unhealthy. You got to use our Crisco cooking oil and our, again, all these man-made products. They don't care what they're putting in them. They
No,
just don't care what they're putting them in. And
no.
again, I'm going to slide into the FDA. FDA, what are you doing? Why are you letting all these hazardous chemicals that are actually, when America sends these products to Europe, Europe says, we'll take your product, but can you eliminate all these hazardous chemicals? And they do, but they leave it in for Americans.
Yeah, it's
So
crazy. It is absolutely insane.
it
Yeah.
is. It makes me wonder, is big food making food that is slowly poisoning people, including children now? And then big food profiting off of that? Because when you go to your doctor, they don't rejuvenate your health. They just reel you in as a lifetime customer. It seems to me as though it's well planned.
Well, and see, that's the thing. And that's where a lot of these different theories I've heard crop up because, well, first off, to really know if any of them hold any water, I would have to know the research of all these. I'd have to be a chemist, basically, inorganic and
Mm,
organic chemist, and then know all the different interactions, short term and long term,
mm.
and then with other medications too, and a lot of the medications they give people aren't based on studies of polypharmacy. It's just they study it in isolation, but most people are on multiple
Yeah,
medications. So we don't have hardly any of these
that's right.
studies. Most people don't know what these chemicals actually are in the food and how they interact with all this other things, including like household products. And then we get into things that we can't really see, which is the next thing of like nanotechnology, smart dust, things like this. You have the whole transhumanist
Right.
agenda people
And
are talking
when
about,
you mentioned, yeah.
Yeah.
Household products and what people are rubbing on the skin and all these carcinogenic properties are just absolutely well known in at least what things like moisturizer, sunscreen. I mean, I've scanned them in supermarkets with the Yucca app. They're just full of carcinogenic properties, yet they're allowed to be sold.
It is really a mind f and
It's
craziness. And
disturbing.
it is, and I think you have the good fortune of having background in Europe. Once you go, like the little store that we have in our little island in Denmark. Yeah, it's not and I like America in the sense that we have so many choices, but the thing is, it takes so much time to know what to actually get too. So I don't have
Mm.
as many
Oh,
choices there, but it's wholesome. I don't have to spend so much time getting things because there's what is it only
yeah,
like
yeah.
500 chemicals allowed in Europe for the most part, but 5,000 in America. And I think the UK
I
is
think it's
probably
more. I
allows
think it's five. I think it's
more
more
than
than
4,000.
5,000. But even if we say
Yeah,
5,000, that's a astronomical
yeah.
amount.
With the
Look, I love
GMOs,
America.
yeah. The same with
Yeah, I
GMOs, they're
love
not as loud
America.
as much in Europe. Yep, you love America. Go ahead.
Right, right, exactly. Everything isn't. I mean, I don't eat bread. I don't eat bread. I don't eat bread anymore. I go to Europe, I'll eat bread. I'm not eating bread in America. It's
No.
garbage.
It's really hard to find real bread in America now, and
It's hard to
I
find
did get
real
spoiled
quality
in
bread
Europe.
with three ingredients. You're not gonna.
Exactly.
I don't know where you're gonna find it.
No, you have to really
So
go to
there's
an
a lot
artisan
of when
bakery.
it
Yeah.
comes to health. Yeah, when it comes to health in America, I don't know where the true stats hold, but yeah, when you've got children and teenagers, like I said, you come out your mother's womb, you're very susceptible. This should not be going on in 2026. It's planned. There's
Now,
no argument, if, ands, or but. I'll sit here all day with somebody. It's absolutely planned.
now
Doesn't need to be like this.
we're I think we're allowed a little bit more leeway now to talk about these jabs and things. What do you think the influence of those have been in health? I've heard various things here and there about how they're still impacting people's health.
Well, that's what they say. There seems to be plenty of evidence out there, certainly more this last couple of weeks about all this. And yeah, they're causing problems. There's no, again, when studies and surveys and studies are all done, you've got to first find out who's funding the study, whether it comes to, whether it's nutrition or whether it's this, that, or the other. You'll find that big food and big pharma pretty much funding most of them. So obviously it's going to swing in their favor, right?
There's the revolving doors between people that are running the FDA and big pharma and big agriculture too. One of them,
Exactly. Yeah.
the same that are supposed to be regulating these industries have come from them, and then what can go back to them. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's the corruption's pretty hidden, and the amount of programming I think we're under here in America,
Mm.
and especially the farmers in the Midwest think they can make money. And of course, I want everybody to be, have make money. That there's
Mm.
nothing wrong with that. But when it comes to our health and safety and food and things we put in our mouth, I don't know if that should be the number one priority. Is just making money at the
Well, it
expense of
should
everything
not be.
else.
Yeah, it should
Yeah. I
not be.
mean, if it kills you, what's the
Here's the
point of
thing.
making money if it kills you and you won't be able to around enjoy the money?
Yeah, but what we got to understand that the people who have created this, they're not eating fast food and processed food. They have their own chefs. And I guarantee you they're eating real food.
Which is really insidious, unfortunately.
Well,
But
yeah, but again,
yeah,
this
that's
is
how it
why
is.
it
Yeah.
is planned because I
Mm.
guarantee you they're not eating that type of food.
Yeah.
They've got their own chefs, whether they're at the house in this country or that country, whether they're on the yacht or wherever they are, they've got their own chefs,
Yep.
and they're
And
probably not even taking the jabs.
yeah, so it is really kind of heartbreaking and infuriating at times to wake up to the grim realities of what's going on here, and sometimes it could be a little bit too much for people. Especially, I know in my own journey when I first started, it was too much. I had to take it just a little bit at a time because it could be overwhelming in a sense of
It
how this
is
can all be going
overwhelming,
on.
mate,
Yeah, yeah,
and that's why people fail or don't even attempt to sort things out because it is overwhelming. That's
yeah.
why my program is called Small Steps, Big Results. Because when you take the small steps, you will get big results. In fact, This is what prompted me to write this book, Josh. Small steps, big results on a whole food diet. I wrote this book because of the results my clients were getting. Because in the beginning, it was a little shocking to me, because in the beginning, I was just helping friends, like friends. Oh, yeah, I could do with a bit losing weight, Graham. Oh, yeah, come on, mate. I'll get you going with your nutrition, this, that, and the other. And as I developed these 5 pillars of health, whether it be a friend or of a friend of a friend I was helping, if they had high blood pressure or type 2 diabetes, in the beginning, it was a shock to me. It was a shock to them that they had to go back to the doctor, who then, reduced and eliminated the medications. So if anybody's listening to this and they're dealing with weight gain, or they're dealing with high blood pressure, gut issues, skin issues, all of them, they're all to do with what you're putting on your skin or putting in your mouth. It's that cut and dry. So again, it's about educating yourself and then just making one change a week. That's it. One little change a week. Unfortunately, you got to know what change to make and why you're changing it. And again, there's no education out there how to be healthy. Zero. It's not taught in schools where it should be. The two most important things in anybody's life is, I'm going to say, first is health. The second is finances. It's not taught in schools, colleges, universities. There's no TV programs out there about it. So you have to learn the hard way, and it can take years, decades. Most people don't understand finances until they get in the 60s and go, wow, I didn't know that. Well, what am I going to do now? Right? Should be
Yeah.
teaching this at a very young age. Schools should be teaching people to be entrepreneurial. And if you don't want to be entrepreneurial, great. But people do want to be entrepreneurial, but they've no idea where to start, how to start.
It really says a lot. Just like if we're looking through media and stuff like that, what they don't tell you is sometimes just as important, if not more important, than what they do tell you. So these are very fundamental things. These are things that we are absolutely foundational, and that we encounter from day one to our entire lives is health and wellness and finances, like you said. And so, yeah, so who benefits from that not being taught in the public schooling system? So yeah,
well, I'll tell you who benefits, Josh. I'll tell you who benefits: big food, big pharma, big insurance, and the medical industry. That's who profits.
Of course, the people at
right?
the top.
Nobody else. The average person. Yeah.
Exactly. So that in that, it seems clearly by design, because you're not going to have a bunch of really obedient worker class, that doesn't question, that just shows up and does what they're told in order to get some people rich. But it's not like, so at least right now, from what I understand, that's only optional. So it's, depending on how you do it. But yeah, it's entirely okay to self-educate and learn about real health and wellness and real finance and how the money system really works. And that's another huge eye-opening topic of how the itself, not just investments and budgeting, but what the actual currency. So, and how that works. But yeah, okay. So why don't we? I imagine we might have a mix of people listening here, some that are just starting to wake up, but others who, they're familiar with this stuff already. But let's talk about then what we can do about it. And you've mentioned quite a bit so far, but what else is kind of essential here when we jump into this?
So if I could just say something before we move into this,
please,
Josh.
Yes.
Yeah, if anybody's listening to this and they're considering making lifestyle changes, and you are currently on high blood pressure, type 2 diabetes, or any other chronic medications for that matter, it's important, I'm going to say it's imperative, that you go inform your doctor, tell him you're making lifestyle changes, have your blood work done, because at some point, and then you have to log every day your blood pressure down, not just take it and look at it. You need to write it down. You need to write your blood sugars and all them down, so that when you do head back to your doctor, you have a point of reference. You can't go back and say, hey, my blood pressure seems to be naturally. But if you go say, I'm making these lifestyle changes, I believe this is what's going to happen. Here I am. Here's my blood pressure at week 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Here's where it is now. Then your doctor don't have a choice. He ain't gonna, well, unless your doctor says, no, you need to start eating fast food and processed food again. Let's bring that back up. But right, your doctor don't have a choice but to say, okay, well done. Great. Let's start at least reducing them. Then if you continue, I guarantee you'll be back and you'll eliminate it. And by that time, weight will be falling off you. So make sure you log it down so you have a clear point of reference when you go to see your doctor.
With the health systems now moving to big data like everybody else. Data is the new gold, right? But there's, like you say, there's the real data that I've been doing myself, or some apps.
Right,
so yeah,
right. And more than anything, you get yourself in trouble if your blood sugars are going too low, if your blood pressure's sinking too low, because once you start to make these changes, your blood pressure, your blood sugars will just naturally start to regulate. That's how it works, because it's pretty simple. And let's think about it. We keep bringing up the word common sense. When you stop feeding the disease slowly goes away.
Yeah, it really is.
Again, that's borderline common sense.
People, I think, underestimate how important these lifestyles. So talk a little bit, too, about what you mean exactly by lifestyle. I know alcohol is a part of that as well.
Okay, yeah. Well, I don't know if I mentioned the 5 pillars of health, which is nutrition, exercise and movement, sleep quality, stress management, and being mindful of alcohol. Because what I have learned over the years is that these 5 pillars, they do not work independently. So if you start to push one or two to one side, you ignore them, you don't work on them, then the others will eventually pay the consequences. So I think part of your question was how do we start this? Where do you start? Because I think this is part of why people get overwhelmed. They don't know what to do. If you realize you've got your nutrition to deal with, and I'm not really moving my body, and I'm not doing much exercise, and I've got a stressful life, and yeah, I am drinking. That's a lot to deal with. So again, small steps, big result. I would say first start with nutrition. Something so simple as at least becoming aware of some of the ingredients used, like the refined sugars, refined flours, processed starches, high fructose corn syrup, all the chemicals in food. And let's not forget all the industrial seed oils, corn oil, canola, rapeseed, safflower, sunflower. Now, all those ingredients I just read out, where do you find all those ingredients? That's right, fast food and processed food. Where do you not find those damaging ingredients? In real food. Let's not forget all the sodas, sports drinks, energy drink, even fruit juice is a sugar bomb. And those specialty coffee drinks. And this is the problem with slowly over the decades being introduced to 3 meals a day and snacking in between. That's 3 meals and 3 sets of snacking. That is too much food, too many unhealthy calories, chemicals. And what it is, it's the accumulation at the end of the day, the end of the week, the end of the month, the end of the year, the end of the decade, is when you start to slowly damaging vital organs with these unhealthy ingredients. That's why it can take years, even decades, before symptoms show. So it's not where you are now. The question should be asking itself is, where are you heading? How do you see your health in 10, 20, 25, 30 years? Some people have 40, 50, 60 years to live. Well, most people carry on the way they carry on. They're going to be struggling.
And your title is really important, and I like it a lot because there's a saying in Buddhist teachings too that drop by drop the water bucket's filled. So
Mm.
don't think that good won't come to me, or don't think that bad won't come to me, because it has a cumulative effect. And like you're saying, some people
Yep.
just get so overwhelmed. They think this is too big. I can't do
Mhm.
anything. And they underestimate each tiny
Yeah.
choice. They
Yeah.
accumulate, especially over
Yeah.
time. So don't write off any of this. Not to say, oh my God, every choice is so super and duper important that the stakes are high. But just, yeah, everything matters. It builds up, it accumulates, like you say. So
Yeah, it like it
from
does. It
now going forward, from
slowly
right now,
builds up. Yeah,
start
exactly.
now. That's
Yeah.
exactly where we start.
And so let's just stay with the what you do first. I would say start with looking at your nutrition and start with the first meal of the day. Everybody seems to be aware that the first meal of the day is important, but more than anything, and I don't hear this a lot, it's what you have for the first meal that's important. If you're going to wake up and you're going to go, straight for your jam on toast, your muffins, your pastries, your cereal, your this, that, and the other, that is not the way to start your day, because you're going to disrupt your blood sugars right out the gate. So, and ideally, you need to make sure you've got a minimum from your last meal or your last snack, if you're still snacking on the evening, to that first meal on the morning. And then let me just, before I jump to the morning thing, on an evening, there's a bedtime routine, there's an evening routine, and a morning routine. 3 hours before bed, no alcohol, no food. Your liver and your organs have got a lot of work to do when you go to bed, and they can't be doing the job they're supposed to be doing if they're dealing with alcohol and food. It's not what you go to sleep, to rest, to rejuvenate, and your body goes to work doing all that, and you can't disrupt it. 12 hours minimum, more if you can. Maybe 12, maybe the following week move it to 13 or maybe 14. Fasting is very beneficial. But anyway, start with that first meal of the day. Try and look at your first meal of the day as though it would be something you would have for your evening meal. This is another thing people go, well, I'm not having salmon, and I'm not going to have salmon and a Greek salad for my breakfast. Why not? It's real food. We've got
Blocks.
this thing. It's got to be
Okay.
sweet. It's got to be
Yeah.
sweet, and it's got to be quick and sweet. No, it's got to be savory. It's got to be full of nourishment and quality protein, healthy fats and fiber. Because what that does, when you have a good meal, and we'll come up with a basic meal, but if you feed yourself with, and this should be every meal, protein, quality protein, healthy fats, and fiber slash complex carbohydrates, your body's going to naturally release and make GLP-1, what everybody's injecting into themselves. The reason they're taking that GLP drug is because they are eating foods that do not produce GLP-1. So a couple of hours later, if not before, they're looking for that snack. So that first meal of the day, quality protein. So what that could be, why don't you do this? Always have in your fridge some already chopped, because this will make it so easy. Because people say, I don't have time. Well, this will make it so easy, right? In your fridge, have, say, some already chopped red pepper, green pepper, onions, fresh garlic, throw some mushrooms in there, whatever you want. In your fridge, knob of butter in your frying pan, get them sauteing, whisk 3 eggs up, 3 eggs scrambled, 3 egg omelette, avocado on the side, kiwi. That there will satiate you. It's healthy. There's not even any simple carbs there. So what it'll do, every time you eat food, something's going to happen to your blood sugars. And that's normal. That's natural. I mean, that's just how it works. But if you can eat food what doesn't give you a big spike for a long duration, that is ideal. But when people are shoveling all this sugar and the sugary drinks and all those unhealthy ingredients, your blood sugar's going to spike for a long time, and it's going to spike high, and it's going to go for a long duration. Now, if you're doing that all day long because you're snacking, spiking again, boom. Oh, now it's lunchtime. Spiking again. Oh, now I'll have a snack. This is how you create fatty liver, type 2 diabetes, high blood pressure, and I could go on and on and on. So make that first meal, make sure you're getting a minimum of 12 hours, and then move your body after every meal. Why? Because you will just naturally, by the energy you're creating, you'll suck that blood sugar out the bloodstream. You won't be producing as much insulin, because the reason people gain weight, they're producing too much insulin. Insulin is known as the fat storage hormone because it's insulin's job to take the blood sugar out the blood, get it into the liver and muscle cells for energy storage. Now, once your liver and your muscle cells are full, well, it's got to get it out your bloodstream. So what's it do? Stores it all in fat cells. That's how you gain weight. You can't gain weight if you're not producing too much insulin. How you're producing too much insulin? You're eating too many simple carbs. So get some quality protein, some quality fat, and some fiber. The fiber will help slow the digestion of whatever you've ate. And I say just slowly move away from just those, those unhealthy ingredients that we find in all these foods. And the easiest way to do that is just slowly. So next week, if someone's listening to this coming week, okay, go for that quality breakfast. If you're drinking all them sugary drinks, wean your way off of them. The body needs hydration. They do not hydrate you. I don't care if it says hydration on there. If you look at the ingredients, it'll be corn oil. It'll have high fructose corn syrup. It'll have everything. So what? If it's energy drink, yeah, it's BS. It's nothing but advertising to suck people in.
Absolutely. Now, exactly. I mean, I'm a big green tea drinker, but
excellent.
The thing that what I found is once you get switched to such a clean diet, then when these bad foods are reintroduced, I'm becoming more sensitive to it, right? Then I feel like crap, you know? I mean, imagine when people start doing this, though, there's so much habitual energy into it. There's actually people do it emotionally too. So they might actually know what they need to do, but there's emotionality and ideas about things. Oh, I like this, this, I've always done this. This makes me feel good. Or when I'm having a bad time, this is my way to comfort, So the stick when it's necessary, but some people, they have other challenges around this. I'm imagining, So do you address like the emotional aspect of this too? Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely right. That's why stress is important, because people stress eat, people stress drink, which then leads to poor sleep quality.
Yep. And this is the one that I've focused on more with doing meditation and mindfulness too. So I can kind of speak more to this. I'm just grateful that I've developed healthy habits around eating. And I've had that since a young age. I hated them when I was a kid. My folks are like, they didn't allow me sugar,
yeah,
right? They didn't allow me sugar. And I'm so grateful for that now, even though it sucked as a kid. It's one of the greatest gifts I've ever was given.
I say you had wonderful parents there, mate. And certainly I'm not putting any other parent down, but parents, if you're listening to this, do you really know what your kids are digesting on a daily, weekly, monthly basis? I'm going to say you probably don't.
Well, even adults. I mean, when I was staying in a monastery in the UK, I saw the adults line up next to the biscuit table and dessert, and they were like little kids. It was just uncanny to see how people behave and react. And around the sugar thing, it is highly addictive.
Well, look, I'm going to say it's highly addictive. I mean, there's no other reason for it. It's highly addictive. Sugar is addictive. It's to say it's more addictive than heroin. It's absolutely addictive. It lights your brain. It releases dopamine, and you go, "Oh, this is unbelievable. Give me another one of them." And that's how they get you. It's cleverly engineered by food scientists, right? I mean, they even do put scans on them on. They do brain scans while they're coming up with these products. And as soon as the brain starts lighting up, they go, yeah, that's it. Get it to market.
It
If it's
is.
not lighting the brain, if it's not lighting, producing dopamine, they're not sending it to market.
It's really wild how science and then the advertising behind it too. I used to work in marketing, and it is,
Yeah.
it can be really insidious.
Bunch of
What
lies.
Yeah, it's just like the spycraft too. The people they get paid to lie for a living. So
Yeah.
why don't we talk about the sleep aspect? I don't mention this so much. The big one for me was turning off all the devices and getting them out of the room. Not everybody has that luxury where they can do that. They need to be in contact even through the night for whatever reasons. But that's one thing. Like you mentioned, before bed, giving the body a break, and I think that includes our media diet and our electronic diet a lot of times too. This blue light is huge. Fluorescent lighting, I think, may have an
Massive.
effect too.
Yeah. It's disruptive.
Yeah. So any kind of stimulation before bedtime should be reduced. What else
Yeah,
do
you're
people need to know
absolutely
around
right.
sleep hygiene here?
Well, so yeah, well, again, I mean, you pretty much nailed the evening routine. No food, what is what they say, give or take. No food, alcohol 3 hours before, minimum at least an hour before. Shut your screens down, your phone off, just all that blue light away. I say more is longer's better. And then ideally, dim your light, sit down, listen to a podcast, your favorite musician, your favorite comedian. Just because when you do that, you take all that stimulation away, you're not got food in you, you dim the lights, then your body goes, when you get into that routine, as soon as you dim them lights, your body goes, okay, all right, we're winding down. Your body will start to produce melatonin, the sleep hormone, and that's just when your body's winding down. It's like we can't be going to bed, ending your day by shutting everything off, laid in bed, turning all your TVs off, and thinking you're going to close your eyes and get a good night's sleep. You might think you are, but you're not. So you need to just work into those. Let's just say, for instance, you're snacking up to an hour before you go to bed, which is very common, I think, for people. So this week, just mentally be aware. Okay, I usually do about an hour. I'm gonna push it just for an hour and a half, just one extra half an hour. You can do that. Do that the first week. The next week, go, okay, well, wow, I did good there. Let me push it to an hour and 3/4. Just make them small steps until it just becomes a habit at a certain time. Flick the light, do what you got to do. So that's what they say. Oh, and they also say you need a cool bedroom. If you're sleeping in a warm bedroom, even in winter, if you're sleeping in a warm bedroom, then that can have an effect on your blood sugar regulation. So a nice, cool room. If you have a TV in your bedroom, get it out of there. Get it out of there. And then the morning routine, which is equally as important. And I think I'm glad you brought the sleep routines up, because I think they might be the biggest and most overlooked pillars for most people. So the morning routine, most people, what do? They get up, they head straight for the caffeine. They're scrolling on the phone. Now they've got I forgot to call him yesterday. I forgot they're creating all this stress, because what happens when you wake up on a morning, your body, and this just happens to everybody, your body naturally releases cortisol, the stress hormone. Your nervous system's a little on edge because it's been all relaxed for hours. Now all of a sudden you swing your legs out of bed and you jump up and it's like, what's going on? So we have to send messages to our body. Hey, everything's fine. There's no tigers outside the cage. Outside the cave. I'm just waking up. Boom. But ideally is to go down. You've had no hydration for hours. Squeeze a lemon, squeeze a lime in there if you want to flavour it up. Some Mediterranean sea salt, Celtic sea salt for some electrolytes. The good thing about these Mediterranean sea salts, they've got like 3 different types of magnesium, and it's magnesium what helps get the hydration into the cell. That's another thing what we've been told not to do is this salt thing. What the doctor should say when it comes to this is you got to stop eating refined salt. Where do you find refined salt, doctor? That's right, in fast food and processed food.
Yeah,
The
the
body needs
nutrition
sodium.
out from
Exactly.
that. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, the
Yeah,
micronutrients
exactly.
are
So
missing in table salt. Yeah, it's chemically processed too. That's right.
absolutely gone. Yeah, they absolutely the process it goes through, it just shoots it. It's not. It just tastes like salt. And so hydrate. That's the first thing. And then again, keep off your devices. Keep away from caffeine. And people say, get up a little earlier. If you've got kids to deal with, get up a little half an hour earlier and go through this routine. It'll change your life. And it will also help set your circadian rhythm. You get an evening routine, your morning routine, roughly go to bed and get up about the same time. You're creating a circadian rhythm, which is part of being healthy. The next thing is just to, I don't know, get your blood pumping around your body. Nothing extreme. Do some push ups off your countertop, push ups off a wall, do 10 squats. Ideally, step outside and look into the vast array. And just now, by doing all those three things, the nervous system has calmed down. Cortisol levels are calming down. And you go, this is great. Even better, just go for the 5-minute walk. Go walk to the top of your street and back. And when you do that on a regular basis, when you come back in the house, you'll be awake. Your body will be awake. Your mind will be awake. You won't be running straight for caffeine. I say, try and stay away from caffeine in the morning as long as you can. I make my own lattes, and in the morning I'll drink decaf lattes. And I won't have my first one, even though it's decaf. I won't have, and I usually do it black. I don't really wait until after my first meal, which is about noon, and then I start to add some cream into my lattes. But I'll drink black decaf coffee because I want to stay in my fasted state. But yeah, if you need to reach for coffee, just try and have decaf. We
Well,
don't need the caffeine we think we need.
that's big. You being from the UK and Europe, not putting milk or creamer in coffee. So that's a big step because I noticed that
Yeah, well, again, and
yeah,
because
UK has to be
they say you break your fast if you
sure.
start putting cream.
Yeah, no,
So
it is.
yeah,
But
black coffee for me.
there's more social acceptability in America to do it that way too, I guess. But for me, yeah,
Yeah,
that's a thing. But even with today's generation, that cell phone can be more addictive than caffeine to some, and that's one thing.
yep.
Even though I
Well,
haven't
it
got
is. Yeah,
it is so that it could be even more important because I know people that the first thing they do before they even get out of bed is grab that device and start scrolling.
that's
So
right.
for
It's at
some
the
people,
side of the bed. They wake up and they're
yeah.
looking straight at the phone.
Yep. Yep. Last thing they do before they go to bed, first thing they do before they get out of bed. And yeah, so for
Yeah,
some
we are.
people,
Look,
that's the thing.
it's a major,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
massive addiction, and we're all guilty of it. We're all
Yeah.
guilty. It's something I've certainly worked on. Look, this is the thing with all of these things. You got to become aware, and then you got to work on it. It's not about perfection. It's more
Exactly.
about consistency.
It's a practice too, and we
It
learn
is
about it as we
practice,
go
mate.
along.
Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely.
It's about all of the things we've spoke about. It's about slowly changing that unhealthy habit into a healthy habit so it becomes a habit where you don't think about it. When I get up in the morning, I don't think what I'm going to do. I automatically do it now.
That's right. It's really
I just
important.
don't
And
think about it.
I've got to work in meditation in there, but that's not for everybody. But like you said, is really important because when we get out of bed, it's a weird state and it needs time and patience and action to counteract that. I
Yeah.
had a friend recently tell me that the whatever habit we're trying to get rid of too or trying to replace, it needs to be replaced with something of the same weight, because some
Mm.
habits are like heavier. So it's going to take a counterbalance of the same kind of gravity
Yeah.
to replace it. And sometimes that just takes time and gradual effort to counterbalance it. But like you say, once it's in place, it's just on autopilot, and that's okay because we need some autopilot in our life that is healthy instead of just all the autopilot that's not.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So I guess
Well,
before
I
we
mean,
start, go ahead. Yeah.
well, I'm saying if you
Mhm.
just take note, when we wake up on the morning, we go through the same routines pretty much all day long. So what you have to identify is Are these healthy habits or are they unhealthy habits? If they're unhealthy habits, but there again, I don't think most people know how to identify the unhealthy habits if you don't know what the healthy habit is. Let's just say this sleep routine. If you're not aware of this sleep routine, well, then it's something you're not even going to turn your mind to.
Exactly. That's like when they say, people, okay, which is worse, someone that knows smoking is bad for them and doesn't stop, or someone that has no idea that smoking is bad for them? But it's actually the person that knows it's bad for them that has a chance of actually then quitting. If I don't even know it's bad for me, there's probably very little chance that I'll ever do anything about it, you know? So that's an
Yeah, very
education is
little.
kind of the first
Yeah.
step. Touch on these. Go ahead.
No, no. Well, are we going to say they talking now about? Let's have a look. What they call it? I've lost my train of thought. Sitting is the new smoking. That's
That's
what they're
right.
saying.
Well, if it's like sedentary lifestyle, you're just sitting,
Sedentary, yeah,
yeah,
it's so
exactly, with no
damaging.
purpose.
So
Especially the video games too is a huge thing now. But not only are
yeah,
you
well,
just
this is part.
sedentary,
Yeah,
but
that's
it's
why kids don't play out anymore.
and it's programming you. What is it programming you with? People write off the effects of these, but the mind doesn't know the difference a lot of times between what's on a screen. I mean, it does to a certain degree, but why we're kind of in
Yeah,
this,
but no,
like what kind of effect is that having long term? It's not the most healthiest thing we could be doing with our time. I feel, a little bit
yeah.
is
I
okay,
mean,
maybe,
yeah,
but
people, including kids, are not moving the body as much as they should. The human body is actually designed to move a lot most of the day. And again, I don't even see children play out anymore. I just don't.
and
I
that's
don't
a
know
whole
what they're
other thing.
doing.
And
They get from school, they're not playing out.
It's certain situations, but it's not like when I was a kid where our folks just turned us loose and we could just go run and play, basically do whatever. Now I get that might not be the wisest parenting style, but now we have sometimes the exact opposite where we have hovering or helicopter parents, like they want to control every single little bit of what their kids do all day long. People are
Yeah.
scared and terrified about things, and maybe some of it's warranted, maybe some of it isn't. I'm not a parent, so I don't have a lot of advice to this, but you're absolutely right. And walking is such good exercise too, with the digestion, and if the energy level's low, it brings it up. If there's too much energy, it brings it
Mm,
down. It's just it's great.
yeah.
But before we started wrapping up, I did want to talk about the stress pillar a little bit, because this is really important, and this is kind of yeah, I think it's really super important to me. Let's just leave it at that. But we've got the major
Yeah.
things that people have it. They have these big life events that we all have to go through. Basically, life and death; those are huge, and not just for ourselves. Then we have like marriage and divorce, or partnerships and breakups. Same thing with getting a new job, ending a job or
Hmm.
career, and then moving. So these are points for stressors. I guess a lot of them are for celebration too, but these are big events in people's lives that can have an impact. I'm trying to, that's in the everyday world. So what else do you want to say around stress, beyond, or you can talk about those situations, but also beyond those situations too?
Right. Well, first of all, stress is very damaging. Chronic stress is very damaging. It'll disrupt your blood sugars and more. It's just we have to get some type of control over the stress. Now, look, the stress, we can't always eliminate stress, right? It's just part of being human, but we can learn to manage it. And I think becoming just aware of what's actually driving your stress. Sometimes it's obvious, it's work, family, finances, but other times it can be just these small daily pressures that we don't really notice anymore. And it's how we handle them. And sometimes, if we're honest with ourselves, we're creating more stress for ourselves than we realize. I was definitely guilty of that. So you have to ask yourself just a simple question: what are the few things like I can do in my life right now that are draining my energy? And just find out ways you can just reduce them. I say write your stresses down, right? Don't chew them all in your head. Write them down. Then you can say, okay, this one here. How can How can I reduce this stress with this certain situation, this certain person? Now, reducing stress might mean just setting better boundaries with certain people. And in certain situations, it might involve changing how you respond to you personally, how you respond to certain situations, even just stepping outside and moving your body. And look, because when you can learn to manage stress better, even eliminating certain people and situations in your life. I had to do that when I was going from, drinking every night to not drinking every night. I had to, unfortunately, not hang out with the people who I was drinking with, because that's all we did together. So you've just got to really make some real decisions about your life and your future health, because when stress is managed, everything begins to improve, right? Your focus improves, your
Yes.
sleep improves, your recovery improves. And over time, I'm going to say your overall health and happiness improves.
Oh, absolutely. I think that's from the top down. Once then you can start making better choices, seeing things clearly. Really knowing and feeling what's good for me and what's not, what choices I need to make. All
Yeah.
this stuff is because that's an internal happiness, and eventually, we're going to die, and this body will break down, no matter how well we maintain it. But if we train the mind and the heart for dealing with that inevitability and that stress, well, then
Mm-hmm.
we're going to be that much more prepared for when that time comes, that we can do it more
Right.
wisely, more skillfully,
Right.
and everybody around us will benefit too. And not to take
Yeah,
it shows us
absolutely.
to not take anything for granted, because every moment is an opportunity, and it is precious. And how much of my time have I
Mm.
just thought whatever. But yeah, our time here is really short, and
And
how are we best
and
making the good
and
use of it? Yep.
yeah, and try not to get stressed out over things you have no control over. I
And
don't want to
that's
go down this road, but politics.
no,
Politics. I
exactly.
know people who are borderline not stressed out, they're disturbed about politics. And
And
unfortunately,
to
we can't really do, apart from when it comes to
no,
vote, we can't do anything about it.
even
Absolutely
that
nothing.
maybe, yeah,
So,
yeah.
yeah, I
Emotional.
have no, I mean, I believe I know what's going on, not just in America, but in the world, in Europe and England. And I know what's going on. I think I'm led to believe where it's all heading, but I'm not stressed out about it. I'll take it as
It's
it comes when it comes, if it comes. But I'm
it's
not
an
stressed
emotional.
out about it because I can't do anything about it.
Exactly. I heard somebody paint it as an emotional con game, and I think that's the best definition of politics I've heard so far, because it's kind of basically
Yeah, I like
designed to
that.
trigger people out emotionally. And
Yeah,
that's right, and that's
yeah, yeah.
for whatever it is, that's most of life. But what I can have a say in, like you're saying, is how I view things and how I respond to them. That's something we can
Yep.
do. What I pay attention
And
to
you
and how
can
I pay
learn.
attention to it. Exactly. Yeah.
And you can learn to do that, right? You can
Yep.
learn to do that. If you're listening to this and you go, oh no, my life's just way too stressful. You know why? Because you're not taking charge. You're not
Yep.
taking charge. Write your stresses down and work on them. How do you reduce them? How do you eliminate them? I got to get away from that one. I'm not seeing that person. I'm not going to those events again. They cause me too much stress. Pretty
I think
simple, really.
it's really fundamental when we put pen to paper, pencil to paper. It makes it more real instead of just the
Oh,
churning in the mind, right?
anything.
Yeah, it really does, to see it
All
out in
these
front of
five
you.
pillars.
Yep.
All these five pillars. You're making lifestyle changes. You need to document, get a diary, and log all these. To log your steps down every day, because then you can see progress. Oh, look! I started off as only doing 5,000 steps a day. Week 3, like, oh, I'm on 8,000 steps a day now. Week 10,000 steps is a breeze for me.
It's a really good point. Well, Graham, thanks so much for joining today. Why don't before we wrap up here, why don't you tell people how they can get in touch with you, how they can work with you, what kind of courses and
Mm-hmm.
products, how they can get the book, and
Mm-hmm.
anything else you want to draw people's attention to before uh, leaving the audience and me on a final message?
Yeah. Well, I'll make it real simple. If you go to my website, simplyhealthconscious.com, simplyhealth.conscious.com. You'll find lots of information in there. You'll find a link to my book. You want to reach out to me one-on-one, free consultation. Like I said, it's all virtual. All my work's virtual. I'm going to say my course is the 5 pillars of health, understanding these 5 pillars, helping you swap these unhealthy habits out within the 5 pillars, and then you're on your way to being alive and thriving.
Very good, Graham. Thanks again, and may all beings out there find and implement their most optimal health for their own well-being and for those around them. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.